Welcome back. This is Dawn with Esther's Field, and I wanted to share with you a technique that we can use to dress up our tablet holders once we've got them put together, or you can actually do this before you put them together so that you can paint them. But it is a texturing technique, and it doesn't really show up. There we go. So this is all a raised embossing. And with a distressed paint on there. This is a Krylon chalk paint with some ink from an ink pad, believe it or not, lightly touched to the top and then rubbed in and rubbed down into the crevices there, because it wasn't as compatible as I would have liked for it to have been. But you can use some paint on an ink dauber to put some on there without really getting it in there. So I'm going to show you how to get this raised embossing on your board. You can use this technique on wood, canvas, paper. It's pretty much good for anything. So the supplies that we're going to need for this is we're going to need white glue, which I just picked up at the dollar store, some acrylic paint. You can use any color, any brand, doesn't matter. This is just from Hobby Lobby, $1.69 for a little bottle. The color will dictate how the color that your embossing comes out. You're going to need baby powder, some stencils. You can make your own stencils or you can use purchased ones. You're going to need either like a putty knife to spread with. You could use a credit card, a piece of cardboard box, as long as it's a straight edge, or a palette knife. And I kind of prefer the palette knife. It just seems to give me a little bit better control, or the putty knife, but I have done it with cardboard pieces before. You're also going to need a cup. I use just a little Dixie cup, and a popsicle stick that I got from the dollar store, well, a whole pack of them really, to stir with. So what you're going to do is you're going to add equal parts of glue, and maybe a little bit more glue than paint. But you'll add glue and paint to your cup. And you really don't want to spurt like that, because that's when you get it all over your clothes. And we're going to stir that in so it's a nice chocolatey looking mess. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our baby powder. Now I got this brand. This is the Kroger brand, but you can pick up the baby powder at the dollar store also. So this is definitely an economy trick, because everything except for the paint comes from there, and the paint is cheap enough. So you're going to put the powder in, and we're just going to kind of wing it at first, and you're going to gently stir that in so the powder doesn't go flying. And I actually got too much, or maybe not. Nope, there we go. And you want it to be kind of thick and mixed well. And if it's too thick, you can add a little bit more glue. And a little bit more paint. And then we'll stir that in. You do not want it to be soupy. You want it to do like this and stick to the spoon and to hold its shape. If it is soupy, it will run under the stencil, and you won't have as much control. So we're going to experiment on this board here. We have paper towels for cleanup, because we're going to need cleanup. And so what we'll do, this is an accent stencil that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I also picked these up at Hobby Lobby, and I'll show you, well, I've shown you that other one board that's already been painted. So what we'll do is, just to discuss these, this one has a lot of little edges that will flip up, and could potentially be very problematic. So you always want to start in the center and work outward on these kind of designs. But you also have to be careful not to catch these little tips with your palette knife. This design is actually quite perfect for this, so that is the one that I think we're going to use. And so you can kind of see what I mean. This one just, it kind of moves everywhere, and this one really holds together much better. So that is the stencil that we're going to use. And you can, and we're going to tape it together. Let me pause while I get the tape. All right, I've kind of guessed at the middle here, and we're going to tape this one down because it's a little bit too big for me to just hold with my hand. So we're going to, this tape does not want to cooperate with me today. I'm just going to tape down these edges so that I don't have to worry about holding on to it too much. And then over here, but we've got to be careful not to get into the opening of the stencil. Now they make adhesive sprays and things like that for stencils, but we're not going to mess with all of that today because that's just too much effort for this particular project. So what we do at this point is we have our putty knife, and because of the size of this, I'm going to use the putty knife with a longer blade. And you can see it's nice and flexible. And I'm going to pick it up on the back side of the knife, not the front side. And you really don't need a lot of this to even do these big designs. So we start in the middle and we work our way out. Someone's here. Let me pause the video. Alright, we're back. So we're just taking and smoothing this across the entire design. So now I'm just picking up the excess so that it doesn't stain my stencil. Oh no, I messed that up. I'll show you how to fix that. And then now what we do is we unhitch our tape very carefully and lift it up, and there we go. So what you have is you now have a very mild embossing. What you can do is you can take a Q-tip I got these at a dollar store nearby, and you can just come along here and clean those edges up, wipe it on the paper towel, and then just pick up anything that might have slopped over. There's a little here, but both of those sides match, so I'm not going to fuss about those at all. Because when they're done, then we will paint them. I'll show you one that I did the other day. I used a very fine line design. This is on white. I just used white paint on a black, but I haven't done the over painting yet. So this will be over painted and then distressed and worked out. And then this one, I did a repeat of the design. I didn't intentionally get a repeating pattern, but I actually did. And then I sprayed it with some glimmer mists and other paints to stain the modeling paste that we made. And so this is what it looks like. And I'll overpaint this and distress it as well so that these yellows kind of shine through. And I just haven't gotten that completely worked out what I'm going to do with it yet, but it was just playing around, and you can obviously tell there were some rough spots in there, but those will be covered by the final paint coating. So here it is, our embossing. And you definitely want to let this sit for at least 24 hours to get dry, or you can use a blow dryer to dry it faster. I like to just let it sit and wait. I don't want to take a chance of it cracking and falling off. Thank you.